the day's arrived. I'm at Badger 5. The car's strapped to the dyno, and I'm hoping it won't break. Like all good mappers, the first thing they did was smoke test it. I didn't film it because you've probably seen me smoke testing it on videos 10 times already. But because I've done it before, there was no leaks, thankfully, which is rare. They said it normally pours out, but that's the beauty of having a smoke tester. You can do it first. They just had to nip up one boost pipe. It had a tiniest leak, you know, on the Jubilee, and that was it. But it's strapped down, all wired up. Fancy emulator thing to live map a Volkswagen ECU, but it's beyond my understanding. And hopefully things will go well. I've genuinely no idea, but one way to find out. Don't know if you can hear me because the fan for the dyno's on is very loud, but here's some cool cars at Badger 5. They do a lot of track cars and race cars. So this is a really, I mean, it's a track car, but it's mega tidy. No engine in this, so I can't show you that. Super nice, immaculate. An incredibly tidy gearbox. It's a 5-speed, I think. Bill Zone, a beefer race car. Big power, 8 injectors, Garrett G series. Very light. Proper, no bullshit race car. ECU Masters. Mega tidy Mark 1. Oh, with a 16 valve on throttle bodies. Badass. Properly expensive cars these days. I remember when these were pennies. Another race car, an A3. With a seriously serious 180. Proper bit of kit. That'd be your ECU. Put this on my Instagram a while ago when I last come down here. This thing's mental. It's a 16 valve turbo, but it's 4-wheel drive with a Lotus rear diff and rear suspension. Bizarre setup, but it looks like it's dry sump. That's just a big catch tank. Crazy thing. Real cool setup with again a serious engine. But yeah, they do a lot of cool shit. Outside Badger 5, there's some cool cars as well. Quite a sleeper. Well, it's still a Cupra, but quite a sleeper Ibiza. Looks normal. Not a front end. Packing some serious power. A TT, that's seen better days. Pretty badass Mark III. It's funny, they were like just really unwanted, but they're looking a lot cooler these days. Another TT track car. Jag vents, isn't it, I think? again, stripped out, caged up. Big wing, pretty mental. Corrado, again, caged up, stripped out. This is cool. This is Bill's. I think this is daily at the moment. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's pretty mental. Obviously, it's a relatively brand new car, but as ever, fully stripped out. Don't want to waste the weight. Driver's bucket seat. See, this car, weirdly, parks in my mum and dad's street most days. I've always thought this was a turbo diesel. I'll have to ask him about this. I see this car fucking most days if I go to our mum and dad's house. He parks it in the street. I think he must commute by train and parks there or something because they're near the train station. But it's always there. A pretty ratty, pretty fucked actually. Mark III Golf. Looks like I think it might be 180 power. It's got an intercooler. It's got a front mount, and that is what looks like a 180 ECU. Quite a sleeper in that case because it looks fucked. And a Polo GT, and yeah, it's a shame they haven't got like a free reign of this place because it's an ex-airfield. It's used for, I think a glider club owns it, and they're not into cars, so they don't allow fun and games. But it's a fucking shame because this would be like a dream place. Even that strip there to there is enough to do some like 0 to 60 or fucking hell, it's not far off 8 mile to there. And then obviously the airfield's over there, but Christ, I'd love to have a space like this. But yeah, they're not into you know, the owners aren't really receptive of that, and I don't know of any houses nearby at all, but I bet there'd be people complaining because there always bloody is. So it's a shame because this is one hell of a stretch of tarmac. Christ, I'd probably be able to make another drift car if I had some bloody tarmac like this. Yeah, these are the, like, well, in my opinion, the people to go to for, well, 180s especially, but they map everything. Not just, they do mapping, they do engine builds, they do everything. I would say 180s are their like specialist stuff, but they're like, they do a hell of a lot of track and race prep stuff, and they map everything, not just Volkswagens and Audis. And I'm very well, you've probably seen me talk about it before. I don't think many people, even very highly rated people, are very good. But I remember the reason I've gone to Badger 5 is because years ago when I had my 180 205, I spoke to Bill, and I'd never spoke to him before. I had no idea Bill's who owns Badger 5, and basically he got it, he understood stuff. Do you know what I mean? I was speaking to him, I was like, oh my god, I spoke to a tuner before who I agree with, you know, with like his ideas and tuner methods and stuff. So it's like, yeah, he's one of the very few people, honestly, off the top of my head, apart from some friends of mine who only do race cars, Greg at Pro Tuner and Badger 5 Bill are two of the only two sort of mainstream mappers I really trust. I'm sure there's others, but from my experience, I can tell you 20, 30 more I don't trust. That's my car in a dyno again. I get some footage of it when it's more mapped. It's doing well so far. Right, well, this is a mildly aborted dyno day. Not in a bad way, but slight issues. First, fucking the breather system fitting on the back of the block, a known weak point on these is plastic and brittle, broke off. So it pissed oil all over the floor. It's not enough to even show on the dipstick, but it made a nice puddle on the dyno floor, and you can't realistically push it with that open. It just pour oil everywhere. So unfortunately, dynoing ended a bit soon, but it was never going to go much further than this anyway, because the actuator, I think, is too weak. Well, it's one of two things. Either the actuator is too weak, or the turbo's tapped out. So it was game over regardless. So this is part one of the dyno, and part two will come after a bit of fixing and a bit of testing, but at least I can drive it home. Right, back at the workshop after today's semi-successful dyno session. I didn't get any footage because it didn't get fully mapped. Well, it did get fully mapped, but not at full power yet. The car still made 270 brake at 15 psi boost and 300 pound-foot, capped at 300 pound-foot because of the rods. In reality, it would have made a lot more. But the problem was, no matter what Bill was doing with the boost controller, you know, we could command 85% duty cycle, the boost was just dropping. Realistically, there's two reasons for that. It would be if it was out of turbo, or if the actuator is too weak. And I don't think it should be out of turbo yet for another at least 50 horsepower. So I reckon it's the actuator. If you remember previous videos, I did fit that really weak one because I presumed, we guesstimated, and this is the trouble with unproven setups, you have to test, or you won't know for sure, but I presumed the standard one was going to be too strong going by the road testing I'd done, but it seems not, or at least if it was too strong, how I've done this one is too weak. This one, I think most of the issue is there's next to no preload. It's got a fairly weak spring, but you know, it might not even be just that. So either way, it made enough power, and it is mapped like that, so I can use it hard as is. It made 270 brake, which is literally double what these cars are standard, and in a car it weighs what? Well, less than 900 kilos, I'd say. That's still bloody fast. But yeah, going by it only made that at like 15 psi. It's definitely got a lot more in it, a hell of a lot more. So yeah, I'm now, well, I'm not now, but my first job is to play with the actuator and stuff, because what it's going to be, Bill said the best way to do it, the best way to find out, is simply disconnect the boost control from the N75 valve, so simply go in straight to the actuator, and then run it as the actuator is now, see what boost it's running, then tweak the actuator. If the boost increases, it will increase lower down for sure, because he was seeing that, you know, on the dyno he could easily make it show whatever at lower RPM, but above about 4,500 RPM, no matter what he was doing, boost was dropping. So basically that's my goal, is to see if I can make boost higher and higher at higher RPM, and if so, go back to the dyno. If not, well, that kind of says it's out of turbo, but it shouldn't be at this level. It makes no sense to be. So I'd look at a few other things, but apart from that, the car was right as rain on the dyno. It's bang on. Well, I say right as rain. When he'd stopped, didn't notice it beforehand, there was a nice puddle of oil on the floor. So, oh shit, where's that come from? And it looked a lot, but in reality it wasn't. It hadn't even moved on the dipstick. That's how little it actually was. It just looked a lot more on the dyno floor because it had spread out a bit. But it turned out it was a common 180 problem. Like one of the guys there said when he spotted it, he goes, wow, what's 180 things? It is one of their weak points, and that's the breather system port on the block. it's like an elbow, made of plastic, and it just goes brittle and breaks, and it just snapped clean off. So while it was fine just driving around, although I had noticed a very slight bit of oil spray around, when using it hard, obviously oil gets flicked out of a breather, and yeah, when used hard it was just spraying oil out, not tons, but just spraying it out. But because it's a known problem, Badger 5 even sell basically billet versions of this for like 20 quid, and I was like, Bill, you got one on the shelf, I'll buy it right now. And he did. So you know, I paid for the mapping, I paid for the thing, I've come back and I've fitted it now and it's fine. You know, well, it should be fine. Took a bit of monkeying about with the breather system pipe work, because the bore of the one at Badger 5 make is the same as the standard bore, but I'd already made it bigger for this one, but this one's broke, so it's gone back to standard bore. That's plenty anyway, it's not a problem. But yeah, it is what it is. It's fucking, I mean, as you can imagine, as it is now, it goes some, but it also, I haven't fully tested it yet, but from the little bit of driving I have done, it moves even as it is, but it handles the power so well. Like literally straight away I was thinking to myself immediately, you know what, this could easily handle 450. I know it sounds crazy, in a fucking, you know, 450 in a car that weighs sub 900 is, you know, hypercar territory straight away, but it just, it's such a well sorted chassis, and with proper tyres and you know, proper diffs with grips and all that, it just felt like it would take so much more than what it's got. So yeah, my first job really, before I start messing with the actuator, checking the boost, is to test out how it is, because I've barely used it as it is, just to make sure there's going to be no more fucking oil leaks and that kind of crap. But yeah, it's good. I'm very happy, even though I didn't make the 300 plus I was hoping for. Well, I was thinking that I would be happy at 280, really happy at 300 plus. The fact is, if it can make 270 at only 15 psi, it will easily make 300 plus. Because I thought, you know, I knew it would make at least 270 easily, and it did, but I thought it would make 270 a bit more boost than this. So that's a good sign of things being, you know, pretty efficient. It's not like they've got a particularly high reading rollers either, do you know what I mean? If I went to a different roller, it'd probably show best part of 300 as is, but no. So yeah, I'm gonna give the car a bit of testing, make sure there's no more oil leaks, then test it a bit as it is, and then start messing with the actuator, and hopefully that is the issue. Because if it's not the issue, it gets a bit more complicated. Intake temps are great with my charge cooler. Didn't even see 40 degrees Celsius, that is, so that seems to work. It does some badass bangs every time you change gear. It's not like got a pop and bang map or anything. It's actually totally the opposite. It's overrun fuel cut is switched off, so it's like an OEM car. But when beasting it through the gears, it's like bang, and it's, you know, not on the limiter, just literally on the gear change, which is cool. But yes, so now I'm going to turn the camera off, and I'm going to, I don't know, let the car warm up and go from there. Yeah, that goes really well. Like, total grip even in first gear. that felt, yeah, pretty nippy. And this is only 270 horsepower. This with some proper power will be fucking redonkulous. But yeah, hopefully that footage shown a few things. Certainly felt quick. Right, I think that's enough for this video. It could have went better, but what has happened so far is bloody good. So I can't complain. And to be honest, the actuator problem is my fault. I fitted a weaker one, thinking the one that was on it was likely too strong. But the one I fitted was too weak. So, you know, not a big deal. But, you know, that's life. Unless you're doing just some kind of real obvious blatant setup that's been done a million times before, there's always going to be a bit of testing and messing. And that's the case with this, so not a big deal. Still got to do something with this. I have done more with this, but I haven't talked about it yet. But, yeah, things and stuff. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. I mean, it's getting close to 9,000 subscribers now, which is quite good. Still don't mean earning any money. It's like 40 quid a month, I think. But, well, maybe now I've got something in action, things might pick up a bit, but who knows. Anyway, see you next time.